Hello, everyone. In this interview, we are joined by an interesting performer. She's serving us gender fraudulent entertainment. It's Imarra.
Yay! Welcome
Hi,
to
hello,
the
good morning.
show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we are so happy to have you on the show. Obviously, we're so sad to have you on the show too because that means that your time on the show is over. But it's bittersweet for us because we get to talk to you, so we're very excited.
There you go. Silver linings all around.
Exactly. So we just wanted to kiki with you and talk a little bit about the episode, but also about kind of your drag and stuff. And going into that, how did you get into doing drag? What's the background?
So I have been what I like to call grade A theater trash for all of my life. I started doing like after school theater programs when I was about 5 years old, and ever since then I was just like, oh, I love this feeling. People just like look at me and have to pay attention to me. Like I'm gonna ride this high for the rest of my fucking life. So I was doing like after school theater programs for a good long while, and then I actually went to an arts high school in Toronto.
Oh, me too. Not in Toronto, but I went to an arts high school too.
Nice. So I kind of like dabbled around in all of their kind of like performance programs. So I started in their theater program, then I moved into music theater, and then I moved into dance. And I actually ended up sticking with dance for a little while and going to like a post-secondary in trained in modern contemporary dance. And one of my classmates was a backup dancer for a performer here in Toronto. And I'd always been interested in drag because for me it was just like a character study. It's like I get to decide how this creature, this person looks, how they act, how they perform, how they interact with people, and I can also change that whenever I want. So my friend introduced me to this performer. They got me in my start. My first time ever performing in drag was in a competition in a bar in Toronto in 2014. And it was a six-week long competition over the summer, and I won.
Yes!
No! We love that!
Oh my god, diving right into it. So,
yeah,
hit the ground running. So, you have this star. What made you audition for Call Me Mother?
So, I heard about Call Me Mother through Lucinda. I've known Lucinda for a couple of years, and the first time we worked together, she designed something for me for a pageant that I was doing here in the city, and I've just like got to know her and like, oh, this is cool. We share a lot of interests in terms of like vintage fashion, sort of like burlesque influences in our drag. And when she was doing the first season, she just sort of like let me know that she's like, oh, I got to be like on this TV show as part of essentially like the drag Tim Gunn. I was like, that's fucking rad.
That's a Twitter bio. The drag Tim Gunn right there.
Truly, she is that. She is the drag Tim Gunn.
Yes.
And so she like told me a little bit about it, and I was like, you know what? Sure, let's see what happens. Like, why the fuck not? I think my audition video, I was like in the middle of getting ready to go to a show, and I just like filmed myself gluing down my wig and like talking to the camera, and I was like, sure, fuck it, why not?
I mean, there are different ways to do it. That is definitely one of them, so we'll take it. And they seem to like it, so that's good. So speaking of that, obviously you find out that you're going to be on the show, and the first thing that you guys do is you like step out of that car and onto that carpet. What was your first feeling stepping out onto the set for the first time?
Good luck to whoever has to like edit this together, because I have a lot of ideas and a lot of words come out of my mouth, and I do not remember a lot of them. So I just kind of like go on autopilot and hope that whoever's in charge of editing like can make me make sense in any way, shape, or form.
And it's me to Michaela every week.
True.
It's like, good luck, here's my footage.
Literally, it's me editing and being like, you can't say that, get out, no, you can't say that, stop.
I don't know if I got any you can't say that. I got a couple like questionable looks.
Good to know.
A lot of questionable looks.
I got a couple like, can we try that a different ways? But that was usually because I like talked for about 10 minutes of like, we need you to like tighten it up. Let's go.
Let's make it a little bit smaller and get your point across here.
Can't. I need to give you a full monologue.
Me too. Theater kids. Totally. I get
Theater kids.
Just love talking. Okay, so we've talked about the past. Let's jump into the present. This week's main challenge, you have to collaborate with your house. How are you feeling? Did you guys work well together? Was there any...
I think we worked really well together. I think the House of Dulcet in general, like, we dived into, like, having feelings, like, 20 minutes into episode 1, and then we were just like, okay, we're trauma bonded now, so like, we're just gonna listen to each other, we're just gonna like give each other space to like have ideas. And I think it really came together like the first like house challenge that we did, where we did that like camping trip shenanigans.
The camping trip.
We threw around so many ideas for that, and we were all just like yes-anding each other and being just like, this is ridiculous, but what if it was like this much more ridiculous? Let's make that work.
Throw it all in.
Throw it all in. Maximalism.
Yes.
Max to the max. I love that. So also continuing on with this week, can you tell us a little bit more about like the background of your runway?
So I wanted to do something a little more unconventional with my runway, because when we got the prompt of Social Media Monster, I'm just like, okay, so I could take this literally and be just like, how would I combine these two things? How would I combine like what people think of as monstrous and what people think of as like social media the way that we know it? I'm like, what if social media influencers, the kind of like toxic, chaotic creatures that we know them as,
well.
Yeah, what if they existed before social media? So I was like, I created this character that was this kind of like neurotic, alcoholic, 80s tracksuit wearing, like quasi-demonic individual. And I was like, what if they were just this like embodiment of narcissism, and their take on social media was having a Polaroid camera, and they just like took constant pictures of themselves and were handing them out and be just like, you need to know me, I'm going to be important one day, like that kind of thing. So that was the direction that I took with it, and it was just fun to wear a bunch of like really obnoxious colors and write things on my body.
So many colors. I loved it. I loved the colorful story of it, and then the reveal with the like me. I was like, yes,
like me,
very that.
Do it,
do it, like me,
or else.
Okay, so striking a little bit more of a personal note, we've seen this in a couple of confessionals, but you touch on bringing a kind of more femme-leaning presentation to the show, and we see a lot of the gender spectrum on Call Me Mother, but I wanted to hear your stance on that topic.
So, it's only really been recently that I've delved fully into the like deep waters that are drag for me, because my start in drag came from a place, and I talked about this on the show, that was very much like female impersonation centric, and it wasn't necessarily meant to be incorporated into who you are as a person. It was meant to be just like, oh, this is just like you impersonating this binary gender. And where that really switched over for me was during like the pandemic and during lockdown. I really started to explore with more kind of like abstract club kid kind of like takes on drag and makeup, and I was like, this is tinging something in my brain. This is like taking a part of me that I hadn't paid attention to and being just like, no, this is actually part of who you are. This isn't your job. And especially coming up in the worlds of performance where things are still very strictly binary gendered, like working in the worlds of theater and also very much so in the worlds of dance, it's just like you have to, if you are a male dancer, there are very strict sort of binary rules that you have to attest to in your movement and your presentation. And so that was drilled into me for a really long time, and drag gave me the freedom and the sort of mobility to be able to explore a more femme-presenting side of myself that didn't have to be exclusively female impersonation.
Slay.
Yeah, totally. That's beautiful, like for sure. I mean, a lot of people don't really understand the different aspects that comes with that kind of stuff too. So it's cool that you were able to kind of feel that throughout the pandemic. I mean, a lot of people, obviously it was hard for the pandemic for everybody, but being able to have that exploration and stuff during that time in your life is really cool.
Yeah, I think I came to the realization that like gender for me is very much about sort of like sensory experiences. So I will look at like textures and colors and temperatures and feelings, and be just like, okay, what does this feel like for me? What gender is a triangle? What gender is the color green? What gender is the sound of rain? Like, that's how I approach my drag, and how I sort of like, I'm exploring more avenues like that, because I find there's some really interesting things that I learn about myself through that, and also gives me some really fun like inspiration to like jump off and create new looks and new ideas and new performances out of.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my god, I'm actually like really living for that. I never like thought about it that way. I'm just like, all right, we're doing this, we're throwing on a heel, whatever. But like, I'm actually like really living for that. That's so like interesting. I live just
and that's sort of where gender fraudulence came from. It's like, I don't use gender for good, because the way that I approach gender is not the way that anyone else that I've met thus far like approaches it. So we're just gonna like lead a cult of gender fraudulence into the future. Hope for the best.
Everyone, sign up today.
Exactly.
Everyone
gets a free tracksuit and a Polaroid camera.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll sign up. I love it. For sure. So going into the elimination tonight, did you have any concerns? Like, did you feel like Dual Set was in trouble, or did you like have anything in that kind of way?
I had some concerns personally, because coming off of the third multiple elimination in a row, I was going through it emotionally, and having lost Maya, who I was really close to, like, that really hurt. And like, they obviously don't show this, but like, you see me and Justin and Michaela like leaving the stage after they've announced that Maya's going home. We get like just off stage, and then the three of us like collapsed crying. We were so upset, and we were just like backstage in tears for a good, like, I was crying for like half an hour. So coming into this episode, the part of the reason I was wearing all black was like, I'm in mourning for everybody. But I was like, I gotta put this aside. I gotta like focus on the competition. We're still a house. We're still together. But there was part of me that was just like, it hurts. It sucks. Like, we've lost so many people already that I was a little unfocused going into this.
That makes sense.
Yeah, thanks production.
Yeah, thanks production. We definitely appreciate that. You know, having to set up 2 interviews every single week is very helpful. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm sure it's done so much.
So much help. Oh my gosh, I get that.
So unfortunately, we do find out that Imarra is going home, but that is not the end. Can you tell us what you have going on next?
Oh God, what do I have going on next? My life is kind of all over the place. I'm still around performing. In the next like week alone, I'm gonna be going to like Chatham and Sturgeon Falls and Niagara. I'm performing in Toronto pretty regularly. I'm part of a Spice Girls impersonation group here.
Yes.
That is hopefully going to be like getting themselves up and running probably come the new year. And other than that, I'm just kind of, showing up wherever will pay me.
I'm sure we'll eventually get you to Vancouver. I'm like determined. I was talking to
I'm hoping so.
everybody yesterday.
I've been to Halifax.
Yes. I'm like, it's gonna happen. I've made it my goal to make sure that every single one of you makes it to Vancouver at some point. Like, I am like determined. I will find a way.
I'm absolutely down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm over here nodding like, yes, I know Canadian things, and Michaela is over here with a war plan to get all of them.
I have been like on the war. I've been messaging like everybody. I was messaging with like Maya and Jenna yesterday, and I was like, I will find a way to get you here. It is going to happen.
I will smuggle you in a suitcase.
Literally. Like, they were literally saying, they were like, the flights aren't that bad, but then it's bringing all the suitcases, and I was like, oh, trust me, I will figure this out. I am determined.
Michaela will hunchback performers' suitcases, okay? Like,
I will get you here. It will happen.
We'll go on a pilgrimage. She will carry our bags for us while we are flying to
Mordor quest to get the performers.
I will bring the drag to Vancouver. Yes.
I am determined. I am very ready. Yes. No, for sure.
Breaker of chains, bringer of drag to Vancouver.
We shall pass. We shall.
We shall. It shall happen. I'm determined. So we like to end every interview with the same question. And so DJ and I are both baby drag performers in our respective areas. And we want to know what advice you have for baby performers or people who want to start doing drag.
I would say the most important thing that I learned, and I learned it pretty late, was trust yourself in your expression. There is only going to be one version of you who does drag the way that you do it, and there is no part of that that is in competition with anyone else. I think one of the sort of unfortunate things that's come out of like televised drag is that it is almost exclusively competition, and that leads a lot of people to think that like that's how things work in the real world, where every show that has a cast of multiple performers, they're all in competition with each other to be doing the best that night or something along those lines, or like having the most followers or things like that. That ultimately does not matter. Drag is a form of self-expression, and you're not anyone else. So what you do and the way that you do it is going to reflect on like how people connect with you, and the more people that connect with you for being yourself, the better of a like fan base you're going to have, the better of a community that you're going to have, and the more people are going to like support what you do and allow that to continue to develop.
And that's on period.
Yeah, I was about to say that's great advice for sure.
Okay, so I think we are just wrapping it up. This is your moment. Plug the socials. Give us everything. Merch. Where can we find you?
Well, as your resident failure of a social media monster, I don't actually have that many social media accounts. But if you want to find me, I post pictures of myself on Instagram at _IMARRA. There was also a link to my Redbubble there where I have some merch and shit like that. There are videos of me up on YouTube. I was working with the channel Speakeasy TV, their Twitch channel. I was doing like
Twitch
drag race runway reviews and shit like that. I haven't done that for a while, but I might get back to it at some point. Other than that, I will be posting about where I am, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, or not doing it, usually on Instagram.
Come on, Instagram. We love
also
Instagram.
Michaela. It's IMARRA.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so story about that. When I was first writing my notes, I was writing really fast, and I spelt your name wrong. And then for whatever reason, I couldn't fix my brain to spell your name right. It was just like not happening. So today when we were putting our little boxes together, I like went to your Instagram and I was like, must make sure I spell Imarra's name right when I put it on the box. So I double checked it like 4 times to make sure I wasn't losing my brain.
It's all good. It's not pronounced the way that it's spelled. I've gotten some really interesting spellings.
In our earlier notes, it's A-H... It's like Imarra.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be like UH-MARRA.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever that bad, but I did spell it a couple times. I spelled it like with 2 M's, and then I'd be like IMMARRA, and I was like, that doesn't look right, but it's like my brain was like, that's what it is, and then
it's all good. Just like pretend that you've forgotten it. It's like one of those things where you're like, I know your name. It's like Mara.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. It's very that. All right. So I think that's all the time we have today, but we just wanted to thank you so much for coming and interviewing with us, and we hope that everything that you do is going to be successful and wonderful in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun talking about it, and it was great to be on the show and show people the beautiful idiot that I was.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.